Good morning, everyone. And happy Sabbath to you all. I've been asked to take this opportunity to share my story. And to be honest, I'm very nervous at the moment. I'm so nervous I can't even feel my knees. So please just bear with me as I share with you what the Lord has done in my life. 24 years ago, I had the privilege of coming to Australia. As you may know, I have a bit of an accent. I'm a Tongan. Any of you know where Tonga is? Don't worry, it's not important. And my purpose of coming here to Australia was I was a part of a youth team coming for a congress in Canberra. And this was 1988. Barry, were you still the youth director at the time? Yeah, because I got a question for you. We were told when we come here to Australia, our passports has to be handed over to our youth director, which our youth director will hand over our passport to the youth director for the division. So, because we have a reputation of us islanders coming to New Zealand or Australia or America and nobody goes back home. So it was basically for safekeeping. That was my opportunity to come to Australia. So, Barry, where's my passport? That's okay, I went out and made me a new one. So this was in 1988. I came over. I grew up in Tonga. My parents were Adventist. My father has been a school principal for the church or for the government before he became an Adventist. And something happened at home. My father and my mother separated and they finally divorced. My father migrated to Australia. Then there was a plan for me to come to Australia. And that's how I got here in the first place. But I knew back at home when I arrived in Australia, it's only a one-way ticket. I'm not going back home. When I came here, I was so overwhelmed with the lifestyle. Because some of the things we do in Tonga, we always dream of being famous, dream of being powerful, and there's only one way to be famous and powerful is to have money. I don't know how to steal from people and things like that. I wasn't that, guts to do this kind of stuff. But I used to watch movies such as Godfather, Miller's Crossing, all those kind of movies where one of my heroes was Al Capone, how he made alcohol and sell them in the markets, and that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a Tongan Al Capone. Just make money selling drugs and things like that, make a living out of it. So Australia was the land for me where the milk and honey is. And I tell you what, I did find my milk and honey. I find it in a town in Sydney called King's Cross. And that's where my life was for almost 15 years. Between that period, I find my wife. We started our own little family thing, and we had a daughter. But the worst thing was for me is the fact that once I had all these things, I had all the friends, I had all the power that I was looking for, I ended up getting hooked on the drugs that I was selling at the time. So I was pretty much, I'd say, cocaine wasn't very attractive to me. Heroin was my drug of choice. So I became a heroin addict for almost 10 years. I used up to, say, $2,000 to $3,000 a day. That was my habit. You might ask, how the hell did I get the money? If you really want to know, for a small fee, I can explain to you. Because you can make money. No, just kidding. But not only myself, I dragged my wife to the habit that I had. So we were both drug addicts. Australians call them junkies. We're disowned by our families. I was too embarrassed to go to church because nobody in church really want to hang out with me. Because every time I come to church, some of the guys go, "Oh, here comes Lucifer." That was my nickname in church. Because nobody just want to relate with me. I don't know why. Maybe because I smell alcohol pretty much most of the time. Or maybe I'm just off my face all the time. But that's what was my life. I moved out from the city, turned down Sydney, and I moved around the area of Bankstown, Lakemba, Punchbowl, and that's where I feel like I belong. So we stayed there pretty much most of my life. But I was always having this struggling in my head. I wanted to be a minister. Can you believe it? I wanted to be a minister, and here I am selling drugs or living. But that was my parents' dream when I was growing up at home, and they always reminded me, "SAU, you have been called by God. The reason why you were born because I was the eldest of 4 children. Back in Israel, all the eldest has always been dedicated to the sanctuary to work for the Lord. So that's your brother will support you financially, and your sister, and all those kind of whatever it is you may call it." But then I get to this, by the time my family split up, there goes the church for me, and there goes God. Because I get so ticked off with God, especially how can a loving God allow something like this to happen in my family? I never see God in that way. But when my family finally split up, I had no, pretty much give the stage, I had no faith in God at all. And if there was a God, I hated him. It makes it worse, I hate his people, his church. I'll tell you why I hated his church. Because by the time I got caught, thrown in the slammer, not even one of God's people came and see me in the slammer. They didn't really care. And I was in the slammer with some other young people. Their fathers are pastors, elders of God's church. The only good thing is Fridays was the best days for us because we have the Anglican bishop and the priest come over for mass for the prisoners. So we come to the chapel and join the mass so the priest can leave the leftover wine there with us when he leaves. Then we continue on having our little celebration. The good thing was the wardens never come to the chapels. I don't know why. So it was an opportunity for us to pull out our drugs and things like that. So we have a little party in the chapel before we go back. Do you guys think that they rehabilitate prisoners in jail? You're dreaming. Because when I come out of there, I knew how to do stuff. I knew how to make more money than I used to do before. But the problem was I had an addiction. And that's where all the money goes. Not only for myself, but for my wife and the rest of my family. Enough of that. Came one night, I didn't see any purpose in my life. There was nothing in our house. We always make sure that our daughter had some food to eat, something to eat. She had a bed to sleep in because we had no lounge, we had no TV. We had a little black and white TV, just pick up on the side of the road. And pretty much our house was like a shoot-up gallery for drug addicts. Where drug addicts come in and out, in and out, in and out all the time. We had problem with work. I didn't have any job. The only job I could get was collecting recycles. This was before they had the bins, so I had to run on the trucks, come to your house, 6 o'clock in the morning, and pick up all your recycles. And that was my job for 6 years. I think one more step and I'll be a garbage man. But that pays for our rent and buys food for my daughter. We want to make sure that the neighbors don't know that we have a child in our house, or else they're going to ring up Department of Services, they'll take our daughter away. Try doing that. But remember this time, I had no intention of God involvement in my life because I didn't believe that there's a God. God doesn't exist to me as long as I'm concerned. And came to one time I said to my, what's the purpose of my life? All I'm doing is going out, do crime, make money, just to shoot it all out. What's the purpose of life? And one night I sat at home, said to my wife, there's some drugs here, there's 2 separate batches. That's yours, don't touch this batch. Because this batch that I had separately is a special batch that I got from Kapamara. And this batch here, there are a few of my friends that has OD'd on this batch. And this one I save it just for myself. I didn't see any reason of leaving. So I'm just gonna be a nuisance to everybody else. I'm not responsible enough for my family, so I might as well end my life. And that was that badge that won't do it for me. But somehow, just before I had that badge, I said to myself, I remember growing up back at home. My mom always prays, we always have family worship every night. And I thought, I don't know what that came from, but that thought came to myself, SAU, just pray. So I prayed and asked God, this is my only chance of you proving to me that you do exist. Because if you do exist, Father, I pray that you wake me up tomorrow morning. Because if you don't exist, I might as well finish tonight, because this patch here is going to finish me for the night. And that's it. So after that, I took my drugs, then we went to sleep. Let me tell you, do you know what a heroin addict goes through? Do you guys have any idea what drug addicts goes through? Probably not. Let me tell you. If you're a drug addict, especially with heroin, you can't go to sleep without using your drugs. You can't get out of bed without using your drugs. You just cannot be normal, like just being normal without using your drugs. So that's the reason why I had that much expenses in my habit. But anyway, I slept that night, even had to use to go to sleep. So I used the last bit, went to bed that night. I tell you, I had the best sleep ever for over 15 years in my life. That was the best sleep that I ever had. Because you know what? I woke up the next morning. I woke up the next morning. I didn't have any craving for drugs. I can get out of bed. I walk out to the kitchen, make me a cup of tea. My wife woke up. We both had a cup of tea. We had a cigarette. Remember, I wasn't back in the church yet. Something's missing in our house. Not long after that, we hear the same usual knocking in our front door. It's all our friends coming in to shoot up. And they said, oh, have you guys already used it for this morning? And I said, no, we didn't use anything this morning. Oh, come on, don't stop lying to us because you guys look normal. Normal to a drug addict is being able to get out of bed, doing your own thing. You guys already look normal. I said, no. We haven't taken any drugs this morning. By the way, we don't want you with your drugs in our house anymore. Just, go down to the park or go down to the laneway or something. We just don't want any more drug using in our house. And that was it. I said to Mom, I just feel something strange happening in our house this morning. She said, yeah, but I don't even feel like using anymore. So I said, well, I'm just going to go down the road because we just smoked our last cigarette. I'll go buy us a packet of cigarette. Check this one out. There's a tobacco shop at Bankstown Mall. It's like they sell souvenirs and things like that. And they have like marks and little trophies and things that they sell. But as I was standing behind the counter, buying my cigarette, there was a cup that was on one of the shelves. And what was written on this mark, coffee mark, interests me. Because I want the guy upstairs to put it up. This is what was written on the mark. Selling in a tobacco shop, believe it or not. As I was standing there looking up at it, something, I just felt this different feeling happening inside my being. Because I tell you why, I didn't have enough money for the mark. I wasn't interested in the mark. But it just says to me, I went back there the next day, the mark was gone. It just happens that something on this particular morning says, for I know the plans I have for you. Remember, I prayed that night. I said, Lord, if you do exist, take this addiction off me. You guys know very well that there is no cure for heroin addiction. Unless you go into therapy for months and hope that there is no relapse for you to go back to it. This happens to me in September 1999. And since from that day up to now, I have never had any relapse, any withdrawals, or any ego to go back.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God.
Praise God. Because from that night on, I finally realized that there is a God, and He does exist.
Amen.
Because I desperately needed God at this particular moment. Could you move on to the 13th verse? When you seek me with all your heart, you will find me. And that's a promise. I get to realize that now there's a promise. While I was doing all this stupidity, God take care of my wife, take care of my family. Because my wife, she didn't come from a Christian background. From a Christian background at all. But let me just rewind you back a little bit. During all this time, I had a 1-month visa to stay here in Australia. Remember that I only came for this camp that Barry and his team ran at Canberra. 1 month only. I stayed here, I only went back to Tonga in 2003. Stayed here legally for 16 years. By the time I went back to Tonga, I already had myself a driver's license, I got myself a passport, I got a Medicare, I was just living like any Australian. I got all these things. But then I have the impression that God wants me to come and start to get into the ministry. But I say, God, I want to get into the ministry, but don't take me to Avondale. I'll go to any college, one condition, no Avondale. Somehow, lo and behold, here I am. God sent me here. I put in an application to the Catholic Seminary in Strathfield. It's local, where I stay, to Hillsong. I tell you, there's so much things that God has done in my life just to prove to me that He loves me and He does exist and He means business. God means business, and that's what I thank God for. Because look what God has done. That's my wife, Donnell, my daughter here. Just stand up, please. These are the 2 women in my life that they have stayed with me through thick and thin. And through them, God has revealed that they still love me. Donnell would have left me a long time ago. Or would have just picked up the phone and ring up the immigration. I got an illegal alien in my house. Come get rid of it. But she didn't do it. I asked her later on. I said, Donnell, what was it that you still have? What did you see in me? What was it that you still want me to hang around? She said, there's something that I saw in you that is not you. Your attitude, your character, the way you used to abuse me. Because I tell you, she's a real gem, my wife. What I have done to her in the past years, I don't even know why she's still with me. But the fact is, that's how God reveals to me of how much He is for real and how much He loves me, is through my little family. If that's not grace, I don't know what it is.
SAU, don't make me get up when I'm crying. Thank you and happy Sabbath. Cleanse me, Lord, of all my silly, sad charades. How I want to be all and only yours. Take away the clutter in my life every day. Make me like a child at play. Give me joy. I love to laugh and cry with you. You've become a friend with me all the time. Help me to be patient as I watch and as I pray, growing in your love each day. Show me the way, 'cause when the time comes, I want him to know me. When the time comes, I want to be there. When the time comes, I want to be ready. When Jesus comes to take me home. Fill me, Lord. I want your love to overflow, running free through me to a lonely world. Let me share that simple truth that sets people free. Lord, I want them all to see